The Senior Vice President of the Altitude Sports Radio Network is Dave Fleck. This broadcast has been a presentation of the National Hockey League and the Altitude Sports Radio Network. Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup playoff hockey. Post-game coverage continues now on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. This is a special edition of Between the Pipes with Alex Ryan-Emmy and Mark Springer. Live from Buffalo Rose in Golden. Here's Raj and Spring.
Back to the Avalanche line with 2.5 to go in our first overtime. Stretch pass, Miles Wood across the red line. Now into Stars territory. Comes loose, hands are changing. Blackwell, one-on-one with Eric Johnson. Blackwell lets it go. Save made by Blackwood. Blackwell got the rebound. He scores.
The Stars take game number 2 in overtime as we welcome you inside the Three Dogs Tavern in the West Highlands area in Denver, Colorado. A special Between the Pipes after game 2. Alex Ryan-Emmy alongside Mark Springer. An amazing hockey game goes the way of the Dallas Stars, but the Avs do, as we're looking on the bright side, they do their job, and they go and get a game on the road. They take home ice advantage away from the 2-seeded Dallas Stars. This one, however, did feel like it slipped through your fingers.
Look, let's start here. Okay, there's a lot of places that we could go after this game. That was a great hockey game, and I have doubted the Dallas Stars all season long. I hadn't quite seen it. And this was a team that was the Cup favorite. The odds makers had them as the Cup favorite, a slight Cup favorite just a couple weeks ago. The Avs had since occupied that spot after a Game 1 win. And, you're missing Robertson, you're missing Heiskanen. They lose 7 straight down the stretch. We saw them come to Ball Arena that Sunday, shortly after Mikko was traded to Dallas. And the Avs largely dominated that game. A little push from Dallas in the third period. This 5-minute stretch actually ties the game up, sends it to overtime. Avs win it after regulation. Wasn't overly impressed with Dallas. And a lot of people were globbing on to some Stars players saying that game 1, Saturday night, was the best the Stars have played in weeks. And they didn't even play that great. But you could see there were some bursts in that game, Dallas on their home ice in their building. They did look better. They looked better than a team
Certainly
that had lost 7 in a row down the stretch. Tonight, Raj, I saw it. Dallas is good. Dallas is freaking good. And that's without Heiskanen, and that's without Robertson. The Avs were very good, too. I mean, what a matchup. I mean, that was evenly matched. That was physical. That was fast-paced. Ultimately, I do think that home ice probably wins Dallas that game.
Likely.
Their crowd was very into it. That was a hostile atmosphere. What a hockey game. There is so much to break down, but I'll just start there. Dallas is legit. They're really good. The Avs are really good for that matter. In this series, look, Avs in 4. If Dallas is playing like that, yeah, that was dead from the start.
That's why I thought you were crazy at the onset.
Yeah, no, but that's the best Dallas has looked all season long. And it goes, you can flip a switch.
Yeah.
The Avs kind of flipped a switch when they won the Cup. Dallas has flipped a switch here. They look night and day from the regular season. That is a legit Cup contender that we saw tonight. And again, I will say so is Colorado.
The Avs had a chance to win this thing, and unfortunately, it's easy to key in on a couple of mistakes. And I have to start there, Spring. The blue line turnover from Miles Wood, who was this was a lineup decision tonight. And on the pregame show, the NHL screwed up by putting Gabe Landeskog in the lineup prior to the game sheets being handed to the league. So on the pregame show, I made a proclamation that Gabe Landeskog was going to play his first game in 3 years, and then the rug gets taken out from underneath not only me, but the rest of Avs faithful. And Jared Bednar puts Miles Wood in the lineup. And by the way, that decision was made early today. I've known that decision since close to 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I expected that to be the case, and then when Gabe gets on the ice and the craziness happens with the lineup card, I kind of threw everything out the window. The game comes down for me to that decision. And the lack of puck retrievals on the power play for the Avs. I thought Drew N struggled today. He was on that power play 1 unit. I would have liked to have seen Gabriel Landeskog in the lineup on that power play 1 unit. Yes, he gives you net front presence, but what I think he gives you on the power play more so than anything is that when those shots go wide or when the puck gets stuck on the yellow part of the dasher, Gabe Landeskog's elite at making sure those pucks continue to move. He is elite at making puck battles that are not 50-50 into 50-50 or better puck battles. There's not many times where I am very critical of Jared Bednar. I thought that was an egregious mistake not to play Gabriel Landeskog today and hold him off for Game 3 against the Avalanche or at home against the Dallas Stars. I expect Wednesday night Landeskog to be in. And I thought it was a weird decision for these reasons. If the Avs win today's game, how do you change up the lineup again? Because you're up 2-0,
Sure.
Things are looking good. The only way to guarantee that putting Landeskog in the lineup is a good decision in Game 3 is if you lose Game 2. I thought it was a self-fulfilling prophecy tonight, and I completely disagree with it.
Yeah, you had a perfect built-in excuse to do it. Ross Colton was hurt.
Yep.
It was coming off a win, and I agree with your logic of, if you're coming off a win, how do you justify taking a Kiviranta or a Kelly or even a Ross Colton out of the lineup? You could have taken Ross out because Ross has not been the Ross Colton from the first couple months of the season here down the stretch. He's been just okay. You had the natural built-in setup with Colton being hurt to put Landeskog in. Okay, there's a lot of keys to this here. Some people are going to disagree with what we say about Gabe Landeskog, but let's start here, okay? Miles Wood was a -3 tonight, all right? And
Hey, it wasn't good.
the final sequence of the game, Miles Wood is part of that zone entry, part of that turnover. He's got his fingerprints all over that turnover in the offensive zone blue line, and then he's a little slow skating back. His efforts to back check Colin Blackwell are not great. He whiffs a couple times. It's not just that he was a -3. I can also talk about Yoel Kiviranta, who was a -2. Now, Coyle was a -3. I think that's tough. I thought Coyle was the best player on that third line. I thought it was Wood and even a little Kiviranta that contribute to the third line woes tonight. I've seen the second line catching a lot of heat tonight. I disagree. I thought the third line was the Avs' weakest line, and it probably wasn't even close tonight. Yoel Kiviranta gets out-physicaled near the half wall in the D zone. That leads to the Thomas Harley goal, the first even-strength goal of this game that puts Dallas up 2-1. Kind of a weird play. This happens in front of Harley, scores in front of Charlie Coyle. Harley kind of fumbles this puck and gets a little lucky. That's how he's able to get past Coyle. But that play begins because Kiviranta gets out-physicaled near the boards. And that's how that puck is even able to get to the slot in the first place. That's on Kiviranta. The game-tying goal, the second even-strength goal for the Stars in the third period, the Evgeny Dadonov goal, Kiviranta is the Avs player who is net front, and he gets out-physicaled, okay? Sam Girard is the defenseman who is he's kind of the troop who comes over a little late to try to save things. It's too late. Kiviranta had already gotten out-physicaled. Dadonov scores. Okay, the negative plays from Kiviranta, the negative plays from Miles Wood tonight. I know that Gabe Landeskog is 3 years removed from this brutal knee injury, and we question whether or not he would be able to play again. Folks, I am telling you right now, watching him play for the Colorado Eagles, I'm not saying he's 100% back.
But he's putting the puck deep.
But he's back. Eagles Gabe Landeskog would have been far more reliable, far more physical, far more savvy than what we saw out of Miles Wood and Yoel Kiviranta tonight. I don't understand the decision to have Gabe Landeskog go out for warm-ups and put the C on his jersey only to get the rug yanked from underneath him. I don't understand these decisions at all. Are we saving? Now, maybe they're saving Gabe. They're thinking, well, hey, we might be making a deep run here, and we think we can beat Dallas, who are without Robertson and who are without Heiskanen, and we can save a couple miles on Landeskog's knee for the long run, that's fine. Dallas is legit. You got to win these games right now.
I think there was a difference in – again, I don't think the Avs were not ready. Like, they were ready to play. They played a good hockey game. It was very clear that Dallas looked at this and went, if we lose 2-0 and we don't have Robertson or Heiskanen, this series is over. Like, it was very clear that Dallas played this thing like it is do or die today. And I think from the drop of the puck, the lineup decision told you Colorado didn't think it was a do or die hockey game, which it wasn't for the Avs, right? You win game one, you steal home ice advantage away. Dallas was playing for their playoff lives. You come back to Denver down 2-0, Landeskog back in the lineup. You don't know if you're going to have Robertson. You don't know if you're going to have Heiskanen. And if you get him, what version of Miro Heiskanen is it going to be? They put everything on the line today, and I think the Avs went, well, we'll see if we can just continue with what we've had forward. I thought it was a lineup mistake. Now, is it the only thing that matters in this game? Probably not. I still think the power play was a little bit lacking. Blackwood was good enough to win the game. Makar's been quiet. Nichushkin's been quiet. And I don't expect both of those players to continue to be such, I wouldn't call them phantoms, but close to it, going into games 3 and 4.
I think Nichushkin's catching a little too much heat coming out of tonight.
He's good defensively.
He was good defensively. He threw some – look, Val tied for the team lead in forwards and shots on goal tonight with 4. Lehkonen had 4 shots on goal. McKinnon had 4 shots on goal. Nichushkin was actually trying to fire pucks on net. There were a couple from deep in the slot where are they the highest danger shots?
No, but Dallas does it all the time, so why shouldn't you?
And there were – on both those, if he lifted them just a little higher and maybe just had a little more zip on them, and they were good shots, they could have beaten Ottinger. They were good little just, let's throw this puck on Ottinger's blocker. Let's see if we can forecheck, which Nichushkin is a good forecheck hunter. I didn't think Val had a bad game at all tonight. He had a nice forecheck midway through this game in the far left corner where he was able to get a centering pass off of his win to Brock Nelson. And it's funny, so we had Milan Hajduk here out at Three Dogs Tavern tonight. And on this play, I'm talking to Milan. And he said Nelson should have held onto this puck a tick longer and gone to the backhand.
Went to his backhand. He shot on his forehand, didn't get the opportunity.
Yes, and Milan had a great line to me, something along the lines of, because I'm saying to him, like, man, but it feels like in that moment that you have no time if you're Brock Nelson, because that's the playoffs. Everything's moving so fast. And Milan said something along the lines of, look, you have more time than you think, and you also have no time at all.
That's coming from one of the greatest puck handlers in the history of the game. It was always said about Milan Hajduk that he could play hockey in a phone booth. The late, great Peter McNabb coining that phrase about Milan Hajduk. If you guys are used to watching Between the Pipes on Twitter, on YouTube, or on Twitch, we are taking breaks, so we'll be gone and not talking for about 3.5, 4 minutes, but stay with us. We'll be back on the other side. I want to dive a little bit more into the conversation that you had, Marks. You spent 2 hours with one of the greatest scorers in the history of the Avalanche, Milan Hajduk. I want to pick your brain about what you and number 23 had a chat about tonight. This is Between the Pipes, live from Three Dogs Tavern in the West Highlands.
Blackwell bumped by Devon Taves. Scratch loose. Now Nathan McKinnon with a loose puck. Lob pass for Sam Girard. 3-on-2 for the Avalanche. Very brief. Lehkonen in front. Backhander. They score! It's OC. He's playing, baby! Back-to-back multi-point games for Logan O'Connor. And he stuns the Stars fans here in Dallas. Logan O'Connor, an assist earlier in the period, gets his first goal of the playoffs. And he gives the Avalanche a 3-2 lead on a beautiful backhand with 32 seconds to go in the second period.
OC's playing, OC's scoring, which means Phantom Planet and California Spring. I'm upset that we're playing this and it's not in a win, but it's been such a long time since California from the OC has played on this show.
Yeah, no, I love. We said earlier in the night, like, we're going to play this.
It was a beautiful goal, and it deserves Phantom Planet.
It does, and, during the break, Raj was like, I don't know, they lost. And I said, no, we got to do it. We're not on, this is like maybe the third or fourth time we've been on 92.5 FM, and we don't really have much music luxury on the streams.
No, the digital,
the
digitals get us in there. The lawyers are not thrilled with that.
Yeah, the copyright issues, all that stuff on the internet. So we're doing it. And hey, look, like you said, it was a great Logan O'Connor goal. He gets called, I believe, for tripping, goes to the box, comes out, scores a goal immediately after the falling down, top shelf. What a goal. Jack Drury's goal earlier in the period, the fourth line, man, and O'Connor feeds Drury in the slot. Nice forechecking play. Nice play by Logan O'Connor with the feed. So OC had himself a game. Drury again, the fourth line, man, and you mentioned, Milan Hajduk was out here, and I talked with him a lot tonight. There was a play where, and a texter actually brought this up. You can text us since we're on FM. We'll look at the text line. Shop Mazda text line, 303-504-0925. MT on the text line says, why is their ice always so squishy? Not sure why it always looks bad this time of year. There was a play where Parker Kelly got a feed on a rush, but the puck rolled on him on just the last second, and Milan brought up how if you're playing in Florida, if you're playing in Dallas, this time of year, the ice isn't the best,
it's soft.
And the puck can roll on you.
It's soft. It's notoriously bad ice at American Airlines Center. It is as opposite as, you can get from the Bell Center in Montreal. It's not good, and you saw it. I think that coming back home will benefit the Avs from certainly a playing surface standpoint. I don't think that's the reason why they lose, but good goal from Logan O'Connor. As a reminder, guys, the Stanley Cup playoffs are streaming on Altitude Plus, and you can sign up now and get exclusive access to a 3-day free trial. All you have to do is use the promo code ALT3FREE. That's the letters ALT, the number 3, and FREE. Code must be redeemed at altitudeplus.com. Offer subject to terms and conditions and ends on Thursday, April 24th. Other things that you sat around and spoke with Milan Hajduk about. I talked with him about the power play goal from Nathan McKinnon, that little relocate that he has off the right dot. I would like to see them utilize that shot a little bit more, especially if Landeskog comes back into the lineup. The reason why that works so well is that he shoots through screens when he does that rather than trying to force passes through the middle of the zone. The other thing I want to see more is when that puck goes down to McKinnon, if he has a player pop out to him, I want to see that puck go up top to Nate or Cale Makar and McKinnon continue to the net and have Makar receive that shot as a right-handed shot on the left side, take a step to the middle, and not only do you have Nichushkin and Landeskog in front of the net, but McKinnon is coming down ice right around the hash mark area. That's what I need to see out of the power play in Game 2.
Well, I do think on the power play, and they do score tonight, and I'll talk about Milan Hajduk here in a second, but I'm noticing less rotating, less rover play from Natchez and McKinnon, for that matter. They've gotten back to being a little more stagnant. I wonder if And you mentioned Drouin on the power play, and I thought that he was the weak man on line 2 tonight. From a power play perspective, look, we talked about this, after watching Gabe play with the Eagles, that Gabe can rove as well. Gabe was primarily occupying his net front area on the Eagles' power play, and boy, would he look good net front with Nichushkin in the bumper. But you can also start rotating Landeskog over to that right wing, and I think they're missing a right wing presence. I don't think Jonathan Drouin is it. It's funny, in the regular season, it's just different than the playoffs. When the intensity ramps up and everyone's flying faster, Drouin's ability, to get plays off on that right wing or rotate around, he's getting exposed a little bit. Now that the pace is picking up, now that the physicality is picking up, Drouin is getting exposed a little bit. And I also think, maybe Landeskog could ultimately, after a game or 2 or 3 or what, this could happen quicker than people think. I'm telling you, he's more ready than people think. Landeskog could play. You have qualms. Some listeners, some viewers out there, you have qualms with the second line tonight. Like I said, I think Drouin was the weak spot. Landeskog, that's a top 6 player when he's right. And I think Drouin, in a truly deep team, is more of a third-line player. Perhaps you could see Landeskog up there on that second line. So a couple things there. The rotations on the power play, the second line. I think Landeskog could help with both of those when it's all said and done.
I'm excited to see how Jared Bednar reacts to what Pete DeBoer said at the end of this game. And I just saw the quote from Jesse Montano. DeBoer's post-game quote was, "We knew our season was on the line." And I don't want the Avalanche to have to wait until their season is on the line to make adjustments like Dallas did today. Blackwell gets inserted in the lineup. He scores his first career playoff goal in overtime. They play with a certain level of desperation in this game. I don't want, God forbid, the Avs lose Game 3 for them to go, okay, season's now on the line. We gotta even this thing back up at 2-2 and then hopefully steal one on the road to get into round 2. I'm hoping that the lineup changes and the mentality changes. Again, I don't think they played poorly. You have to remind yourself, on the other side of this hockey game, there's another damn good hockey team who had north of 100 points this year. Dallas is deep as hell. Spring, you said it. Before the postseason started and the Robertson and Heiskanen injuries were very clearly going to cost them at least 2 games at the beginning of this matchup, they were the odds-on favorite to win the Cup. And then the Avs jumped them because of those injuries. You did your job on the road. Now, Game 3 is pivotal. Putting Landeskog in the lineup, I think, sends that message to your team going, our season's on the line right now. Get a 2-1 lead and try and take a stranglehold on this.
Now it's a no-brainer, obvious decision. It would actually be malpractice not to play Gabe Landeskog in Game 3, coming off of a loss. Now it's the easiest decision in the world. They did, and that would seem to be the plan all along, even though, and I'm going to get to this in a second, why I thought he could have played in Game 1 and certainly tonight. But the report from Dater just before this series started that they were going to wait until Game 3. And now, coming off of a loss, and Ross Colton's hurt, and Miles Wood didn't look good when he got the nod. And even Kiviranta, I thought, wasn't great tonight. Now it's a no-brainer adjustment to go put Gabe Landeskog in the lineup. But they had an opportunity to be ahead of the curve tonight.
They certainly did.
And they chose not to do that. Here's why I am pretty damn sure Gabe Landeskog was very ready to go tonight and probably in Game 1 too. All right, and we talked about this a little bit leading into the series. This Landeskog injury situation, this is not like, for example, the Miro Heiskanen knee injury that occurred around the turn of the calendar, early January, something like that, and then he has surgery. This isn't a recent injury. So with Heiskanen right now, he is day-to-day because they don't quite know his timeline. He's recovering from a surgery that took place just a few months ago. This Landeskog injury goes back 3 years. Gabe Landeskog has been ramping up for weeks, months, plus beyond. We talked about the Son of Reason between the pipes.
And you've likely been holding him off for a few weeks.
Yes,
because of cap issues.
That's another thing. Let me bring that up, too. Did you see – I saw World Hockey Report tweet this out today, and it was a note from Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts, a part of his podcast, that perhaps the Avalanche and the Oilers with the Vander Kane have not brought each of those players back quite yet because the league is cracking down on LTIR, cap circumvention, shenanigans, and perhaps maybe one of the – and this is just something I saw today.
It's optics.
Yeah, that maybe the Avs didn't want to bring Landeskog back game one or tonight's, and the league would have raised an eyebrow. Now, why would the league care all of a sudden when teams have been doing this?
Didn't care about Patrick Kane, didn't care about Nikita Kucherov, didn't care about Mark Stone.
Sure. But, okay. First of all, and I also saw Landeskog wanted to play today. He was lobbying to play today. And again, this was not a recent thing with Landeskog. If he's good to go in 2 nights, why wasn't he good to go 2 nights before? You cannot tell me that after 3 years, 2 days was the difference. That his knee after how many years? How many days is 3 years? After 1,000 days, we need 1,002 days. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Maybe the decision was, we're playing well, don't upset the apple cart. And the one thing about Landeskog's injury is you don't really know what you're getting. There is the unknown factor. At least when Bednar plays the other guys, when he plays Colton in Game 1, when he plays Wood in Game 2, there is a more known factor in terms of what you're getting from the player on the ice. There is still very much, I don't know what Gabe is. Is Gabe a top 6 player? Is he a bottom 6 player? Can he even keep up with the pace? And this pace, just look at overtime. Back and forth, you couldn't keep up with that thing. So maybe there's a question whether or not Gabriel Landeskog can keep up with that. He will be in the lineup on Game 3. He will be in the lineup Game 3. Mark my word. There is no way that you can come off of this loss going, oh, damn, we should have had this as a 2-0 series lead. You have to bring the emotion back in your favor, and the only way to do that is make sure 92 is leading your team onto the ice after Mackenzie Blackwood steps on and starts knocking pucks over.
What I saw from Landeskog is specifically the back half of Period 2, Period 3 in overtime of his second game with the Eagles, and Chris McFarland was in the house for that game. McKinnon and Taves and McCarr were in the house. You can't tell me that they didn't watch that and see, oh, no, he can go. And then you see Wood in overtime. You see Kiviranta in overtime. And there's not a doubt in my mind that Landeskog could have gone better than that.
Without a doubt. On Wednesday night, the next best place after Ball Arena, if you can't get into game number 3 for watching the Avs, is number 38 in Rhino. Specials on Milagro Tequila and Mountain Time Lager. Awesome giveaways and the chance to enjoy the game with, well, me and the rest of Avs faithful. I'll be there. We'll see you guys at number 38 on Wednesday starting at 7 p.m. We'll take one more quick timeout, wrap things up on the other side, start talking a little bit more about Game 3 and what else happened across the NHL Stanley Cup playoff slate. You guys are listening to Between the Pipes here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
I think, well, yeah. I mean, every time you lose a game that you play pretty good, you lose an opportunity to take control of a series. But like, they're gonna have something to say about it too, right? So like, we controlled part of that game, they controlled part of it, and a lot of it was played pretty even. So I think that's life when you're playing a team like the Dallas Stars. So we have to be better than we were in the third, and got to capitalize on some of our chances, and we got to prevent a few more chances than we did tonight as well.
Jared Bednar in the postgame after the Avs fall 4-3 in Game 2 of their first-round series against the Dallas Stars. He would go on to say they mismanaged the puck more than a little bit in the third period and overtime. Obviously, the glaring one is the offensive blue line turnover from Miles Wood, but I don't think that sounds like a head coach that's flustered by the loss or very frustrated by it. Sure, you live and die with every win and loss in the postseason. It should feel like you've gotten closer to the Stanley Cup with that Game 1 win. It should feel like the season is ending with tonight's loss. That is what the playoffs are all about, and I'm not about to talk you guys off of that ledge, but Bednar, I think, does realize that they have a great opportunity ahead of them after the number one goal on the board going into Dallas for this series was at least split. And there's a check mark there.
Yeah, no, now let's take a step back, and the 2 games in Dallas are complete. The Avs are the road team, and you win one by 4 goals. You win 5-1. You win 5-1 on the road, and then...
Where's the aggregate in hockey?
And then in your second road game, you lose in overtime. This game was tied after regulation, so that was Dallas on their home ice.
Yeah, lead with 10 minutes to go.
Lose by 4 and win in overtime. So advantage Avs from that perspective. But it's like if this was the regular season, you come away with 3 points on the road trip. It's not the regular season, it's the playoffs. So you didn't get the extra point tonight. You get a full-blown loss. But overall, like, win by 4, lose in overtime, that save for win both games, that's as good as you can do.
Bednar would go on to talk about the Gabe Landeskog decision and why he was out there for pregame warmups.
Gabe wanted to like get in the groove and take warm up tonight and get in the room and like be part of it. So that's why he did that.
Interesting. I don't love the decision.
I think you know what that screams to me?
Huh.
In his head he's like I made a wrong decision. In his head he goes, I should have played that guy. I should have played that player. So
Gabe, and again, I saw somebody tweet today. It might have been Dater or somebody else who tweeted like Gabe is lobbying to play.
It was Dater. Dater was the one who tweeted
it was
out,
Dater.
yeah.
Gabe is lobbying to play tonight because Gabe knows. And so now I'm going beyond the tweet. I think Gabe knows he's ready.
Yeah.
And so Gabe was like, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Some Fogarty action?
Today. Look at me. I could be net front power play 1.
It doesn't quite rhyme the same way.
No, but okay. Gabe was not saying, Coach, I'm not ready to play tonight, but damn it, I just need a taste of pregame warm-ups. No. I don't understand the decision to just put him out for warm-ups and put the C back on his sweater and get his hopes up. Give him a taste. Get our hopes up. You're either in or you're out. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
And I think you're right. You can hear the tone in his voice.
The tone in his voice was, I know you're going to ask about it, and had we won, I wouldn't have had to have answered this question. I was not, I don't think he was prepared to answer that question because I thought, I believe that Bednar thought they were walking out of this thing 2-0. They were good enough to win the hockey game. They were. You had a lead with under 11 minutes to go. You get out-muscled in front. You talked about the Dadonov play on Yoel Kiviranta. I think Kivi was – I thought he was fine tonight. He is a smaller player, but he is very dependable on the penalty kill. He feeds Parker Kelly a beautiful 2-on-1 that goes by the wayside. Bednar loves that player. but there's going to be a different lineup come Wednesday evening. Spring, you see what else happened around the National Hockey League tonight? We had 4 games. The Jets go up 2 games to nothing against the Blues, the 2-1 victory. Kyle Connor scored with under 2 minutes to go in Game 1 in the third period to give them a lead, 1-0. And then in Game 2, he scores 2 minutes into the third period to get the game winner yet again. Winnipeg cooling the Blues.
Well, we'll see what happens when this game goes back to St. Louis. Good on Winnipeg. Those are a couple grindy, gutsy wins, tight ones. Blues gave him a scare in both of them. If Winnipeg steals one in St. Louis now, though,
it's
that's probably it. But St. Louis has been competitive in both of those games in Winnipeg, so they can get 2 and hold serve right back. And, all related to this series right here, as competitive as the Avs were on the road, now they come home. So that'll help St. Louis in their series, but they don't have the Avs luxury of having stolen one.
I've got a great feeling that Colorado's leaving their 2 games at home up 3-1. For some reason, I just have that gut instinct right now, and maybe my gut instinct's wrong, but I just have an awesome feeling that they will win Game 3. You can't have Gabe come back and not win that game. It just feels like it's destiny. And then if you win that one, I've got a feeling. That's all I can do. I can't quantify it. I can't put stats behind it. I just have a feeling. And I had that feeling with the Montreal Canadiens tonight going into Washington. I thought they were going to give them a run for their money. It was 2-0 for the vast majority of the game. The Canadiens get a goal from Cole Caulfield. Should have been an Av. They didn't trade up and get him in that draft. They instead took Alex Newhook, the pick after Caulfield goes to Montreal. Captain Nick Suzuki ties it up. And then Alexander Ovechkin scores his 970th career goal in the first time ever he does it in overtime in the playoffs.
His first ever playoff overtime goal. Hard to believe that it took him this long to do that.
That happens when you're under Sidney Crosby for all those years in the first round. And they,
I was kind of going to say they did have some early exits a lot of those years. What a season, what a storybook season. And look, Montreal's tough. They're tricky. That's a good start for Montreal in that series. It's not the regular season. You don't get a point, but still you were competitive and forced overtime against the 1 seed in their building. And the Avs forcing overtime tonight too. You can feel good about that as a road team in the playoffs, and you should.
The other one that we get tonight, 6-5 is the final in the 4th consecutive meeting between the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. Talk about a road team feeling good about themselves. LA had a 5-2 lead in the third period. They get goals from Zach Hyman, Corey Perry, and then with a minute and a half to go in this one, Connor McDavid ties the game at 5 on the road against a team that has been ousted in the playoffs by the Oilers 3 straight years. They have to be puckering up, and who else but Philip Danault scores with 42 seconds remaining in the game. LA gets the win 1-0 in Game 1.
I'm seeing the score of this game as we're out here at Three Dogs Tavern, and we got the Avs on, we got the Nuggets on, but I'm seeing this score, and the Kings are up 4-0, and then they're up 4-1, and then they're up 5-2, and I'm thinking, damn, Roger's right. The Oilers are toast, and the Kings they do have a better team than they've had in years past. But then the Oilers storm back, and they don't get the win. But it's just Game 1, and you got Draisaitl scoring, you got McDavid scoring, you got Hyman scoring. So you can take, especially in Game 1 on the road, you can take a moral victory from that. This series is far from over.
Tomorrow night's games, we have the Hurricanes and the Devils, the Senators on the road in Game 2 against the Maple Leafs after giving up 6 goals. The Lightning and Panthers play Game number 1 of the Battle of Florida, and then the Vegas Golden Knights, who doubled up Minnesota in Game 1, look to take a 2-0 lead before they head back to the state of hockey over the week. Over the middle of the week, rather. My favorite game there, it has to be Florida and Tampa Bay. That's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a great series. A lot of these series are, and again, we'll see, that Winnipeg-St. Louis series. What does it look like in St. Louis? Several of these series, Ottawa-Toronto. Toronto looked good in Game 1. What does it look like in Game 2? And then certainly when we get back to Ottawa. So there's still a lot that can change and kind of unfold in these first-round playoff series. And I'll say this about your feeling about the Avs winning games 3 and 4 at home. I feel that too. I get where it's coming from. My concern now is Dallas has woken up a little bit.
Yeah, they have.
But I think I will say I see no world where Colorado loses both. Worst case scenario, this is a split, and this is shaping up to be the series that everyone wanted it to be, certainly from the outside looking in. You know, not a Stars fan, not an Avs fan. The NHL community, when they looked at this Avs-Stars series, they said this could be a big one.
It's the marquee matchup.
And after tonight, that's where we're headed.
It's going to be a roller coaster ride. That'll do it for us from the Three Dogs Tavern here in West Highlands in Denver. Thanks to our friends at Bud Light. We're out of here. Avs fall 4-3 in overtime. They'll be back on Wednesday evening, 7:30 p.m. puck drop, 7 p.m. pregame show. I'll be out there live at number 38 in Rhino. Spring will be at Ball Arena for what we expect to be the debut of Gabriel Landeskog for the first time in 3 years. Spring will be doing the postgame show Between the Pipes live from just above section 136 where the old TV studio used to be. I'll do Between the Pipes, from number 28. But that's it.
38.
Did I say number 38?
28.
Yeah.
We got Miles Wood on the brain.
Numbers. I got to get that guy off my brain after tonight. But for Dixon Lawson, KJ Granderson, Connor McGahee, and Mark Springer, I'm Alex Ryanemi. Tune in tomorrow morning, bright and early. Rather, this morning, bright and early, for Brett Kane at 6 a.m. Dixon's going to go sleep at the studio. Congratulations on checking that off your radio bucket list, Dixon. We'll see you guys on Wednesday evening after the Avs take on the Stars in Game 3.